We had the opportunity to research the options available for personal legal liability protection for those who carry a firearm in the United States in 2022. Our goal in this series of videos is to offer in a non-biased format the results of that research. Here we go. All right, we're taking a look at the research that we've accumulated on personal legal liability coverage for those who carry a firearm or concealed carry insurance. And in this video, the second in the series, we introduced it. I think what I'm going to do is look at the factors that we've used to compare the different services and organizations out there. So in this video, we're just going to go through and take a look over here on the left at the different factors that we've come up with to compare them. So this is the best of our ability, the current information on each of the 6 or 7, I guess, national level options for legal liability when carrying a firearm, and then also the prepaid legal to kind of compare with as well. We've done this for our Minuteman University website. We want to thank our Patreons, people that make it possible to keep our websites online and to give us time to compile research like this. And all this information is available on the websites for anybody that wants to check it out. So let's dig in. Again, we've got a lot of information here. I'm going to grab this little highlighter I've got down here somewhere so that we can follow along, and I'll just start up here at the top, taking a look at some of the factors that we've included through our research and in this what we're offering here. So we start out with their logo and the name of the organization and their website, the date that the organization started, and the type of organization or service that it is. There's a couple of different things, and we're not suggesting that our information here is 100% accurate because this is actually pretty difficult to obtain or figure out from each of the organizations. Some of them are membership organizations or funds, networks. Others are insurance policies or hybrids. Others are prepaid legal or hybrids. Next is a section where we're going to get into what it costs, or the price, the factors of what it costs to get each of these services. So some of them are just one option, others have tiers. So we have a level of protection here to get an idea of how many tiers they might have. In the next section, we talk about the costs of those. Pretty difficult to compare, a lot of apples and oranges here. You can really go nuts, and I think that's probably intentional. But it is what it is. Next, we get setup fees. Not all of them, just a couple have a fee to set up the whole thing. Some of them have the option of monthly payments. Some of them are just yearly, and then some of them have discounts if you purchase annually. The couple of them have military discounts. So that's pretty much what we've come up with for the costs of the different options. Next up, let's get into the different factors of what they cover. And I'll scroll down. If you take a look at the whole thing here, that's a pretty big chunk of what people are interested in or what's involved. So going back to the top here, first thing is what states they cover. You can get the coverage. So each of these is, because they're different services, they're different setups, they each have different coverage. Both have each have different states that you can get the coverage in. We've included some maps there, and that one will be in flux because they change. They haven't been the same, and they don't stay the same. Now, as far as no matter where you live, where you go, or if you can travel with the service or with the coverage, and then how much that might cost. Next is the payout, although they're pretty much all uniform here. In the past, some of them have had differences in the way that they pay out or they offer coverage. Choice of attorney is one of the factors. The access to those attorneys, both for the case and at other times, is another factor, a difference between some of these options. The criminal defense costs or how much they cover for the criminal defense attorneys, whether or not appeals are covered. And then there's criminal and then there's civil. So how much they might offer for civil defense, and then there's civil damages potentially. And then each of them have whether or not they even cover civil damages, and then how much they might cover. We get into bail bonds, and each of them deal with bonds completely differently. Expert witnesses, while they all pretty much cover expert witnesses, they deal with them or they address them differently. Spouses are pretty much universal, but how they address them again is different. And really the big deal here, or the big differences on some of these, is if you're somebody who's just getting out of school, younger, you're going to need different or have different interests from coverage than maybe a family of 4 that's ready to retire or something, right? So spouses and dependents are handled differently, addressed differently with each of the different services. We'll look at those. Extreme risk protection orders or red flag laws is an issue, and that can be an issue for domestic issues as well. Psychological counseling is something that not all the options cover, and the ones that do address it differently. Time lost from work, some of them cover that, some of them don't deal with that. Constitutional carry is not consistent. They don't all cover constitutional carry. Some of them require a CCW permit. Cleaning up after an incident is not covered by all of them, and they address it differently. They pretty much all cover most weapons now, but in the past this has been a factor that has been different. Some of them only cover firearms, some of them only cover specific firearms, but now they pretty much all cover any weapon. Confiscations, some of them replace firearms that might be confiscated in an incident. Recoupment is interesting and a deal breaker for some people. That's the idea of if you're found guilty, the service requiring you to repay any money they've spent. And that's not a big deal unless you think about a plea deal where you're found guilty on a minor or a smaller charge. Accidental discharges and gun-free zones are the last 2 factors that we'll look at under coverage. And again, these services all deal with these things separately, so as we go through and look at each of them individually, we'll get a lot of different kind of perspectives or the different ways that they deal with these things. This extras would be a portion of the research that had to do with things like education and access besides actual coverage for an incident. And they each address training, they each emphasize training differently and offer more or less resources. So we try to touch on that. As far as if they've got access 24/7, you would think they do, but they all don't. Educational materials in addition to training options, and then any additional benefits, mostly memberships or discounts and things like that they'll offer to incentivize membership. Some of the things that we're going to look at as well in our coverage is things that aren't looked at as often, and things like how their presence is on social media, as well as their affiliate programs. A lot of these, most of them offer some sort of a kickback or an incentive to send people to their service, and because of that, a lot of the coverage, you see a lot of the comparisons even are more sales marketing than actual comparisons. Just their contact information here in the states that they're located. We're attempting to still find out information about their experience, the number of court cases. It's an interesting factor, but none of them really publish that, so it's been difficult to get that information. Something that is published is their public Better Business Bureau rating, so we've included that as a way to compare them. And then last, we'll take a look at their advisors and their founders to take a look at the people behind some of these organizations or people that stand with some of these organizations. So these are the factors that we're going to take a look at in the next series of videos as we dig into each of the services that are available for personal legal liability for those who carry a firearm in the United States. This is information from or accurate to the best of our ability from February 2022. We're able to do this without any kind of sales pitch or any kind of preference, really just to offer, to our best of our ability, awareness of the different options. And this is, again, thanks to our Patreons, the people that subscribe to the projects that we do, things like this, and the Minuteman University website, where all this information will be available for anybody that wants to check it out. Thanks for watching. I'd like to say a big thank you to those who subscribe to our Patreon channel. You keep our websites online and all this information available for free for everyone. Wherever you find the video, over on gunstreamer.com or on guntube.org. Thank you for supporting our projects. If you'd like to buy us a cup of coffee, check out our Patreon channel.
The guys and gals of gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thank you for watching gunwebsites.com.